like to talk just for a few minutes about what to do with your dissertation. You do actually have several options. A lot of people assume that, you know, it's a sort of a natural segue from the dissertation into a book. That's not always the case. You have a few options as to what you might do with your dissertation project. You could do nothing. You could decide it is an option. I know not one that many people have the luxury of taking up in this current climate. But you might decide that, you know, you're done, that you need to move on to the next project. And if you're really feeling like that, it's worth taking some time to work through that, where that feeling is coming from. It may benefit you just to move on to the next project as quickly as possible. That is not most people. Most people are going to do one of the following two things. Either mine their dissertation for a series of articles, and some dissertations are more suited to doing that than others, or they're going to develop it into some kind of a book. From the dissertation to the book, William Germano, this is a fantastic book, and I'd completely recommend it to anyone who is revising their dissertation or thinking about revising their dissertation into a book. If anyone wants the citation or to take a look at it afterwards, but come and do so, please. Refers to the dissertation as the not yet book. And it's difficult to accept that when you've poured so much energy and time and such a significant portion of your life, a very important portion of your life in the foundation of your career, your first real extended piece of research, to accept the fact that it isn't necessarily a book right now, you know, in its completed form, sort of post-defense. But I'll try and explain what the reasons are for that. And a lot of it has to do with sort of questions of genre, really, what those two documents, what those two texts are designed to do, what their role is, what their purpose is. So just in terms of comparison, you know, the dissertation is aimed at quite a narrow audience. It's aimed at your committee, at satisfying your committee. And that's more or less it. You know, you might be thinking more widely about the ramifications of your research, but that's who the writing is directed to. Whereas the book has a much wider audience. You're speaking to scholars in your field, students, potentially general readers. So you really need to think about who that audience is in a very free-form sort of way. The goal of the dissertation is to prove your ability to conduct research and your worthiness for the degree of the PhD. The book, on the other hand, is aiming to inform, to participate in ongoing debates and discussions within a discipline. Most importantly, I would argue, to tell a story, to tell a particular story about a research question, and to explore an idea, and to make a statement about that research question. The dissertation tends to hide the authorial voice, you know, in the passive voice, hiding behind the we, and there's good reasons for that. You know, you're striving for authority, you're striving for objectivity, or certainly the appearance of objectivity as much as possible, and a lot of that has to do about proving your ability to research and your acquaintance with the research that's been done in the past in your field. In the case of the book, we're looking for a strong, distinct authorial voice, the voice that says, I have something to say. Here, this is my statement. And you know, it to a certain degree, not exactly takes for granted, but accepts that you are already worthy to be making that statement. In a related point, the dissertation is demonstrating actively scholarship in the field, whereas the book is building on scholarship in the field. And again, that has very much to do with the role of the dissertation. So that tends to mean a lot of excessive quoting, long block quotes, repeated examples and references to demonstrate that you have done the research. With regard to a book, your audience is going to accept when you say, I've done the research, that you know, the discipline accepts that accepts this premise. They don't necessarily need to see the reference to the 10 works in which that's been outlined. The structure of a dissertation often is stressing your analytical skill, your research skills. So it's reliant in many, you know, in the thoroughness of your research. Whereas the structure of a book should be providing a backbone of a narrative. And it's easy to forget this question of narrative when you're dealing with nonfiction, when you're dealing with scholarly research. But the fact is, keeping your reader interested, even within your discipline, relies on relying on a strong through line, that element of telling a story.